Hi, I'm Mike with the School of Self-Reliance, and today we're going to talk a little bit about unarmed confrontations and how to end them before you get tangled up in something you don't want. Before he ends up laying a glove on you or anything else. Now, some people may be squeamish about this. A lot of what I'm going to talk about here is striking first, okay? And this is not legal advice, check your state laws, but in a lot of states, an actual physical assault does not have to take place before you can legally strike the person. Okay? If this guy comes up threatening in a loud voice that he is going to kill you and he is charging up on you, in many states, that is considered a violent attack. And in my mind, when I have a guy running up on me, talking all kinds of smack and threatening to kill me and my family, his safety is the last thing on my mind. As a matter of fact, his safety is the one thing I want to make sure he no longer possesses. And from that perspective of both legally and fight ending, you don't want to keep your hands down here. That's not what you want. This guy comes up on you and he wants trouble. The very first thing what I like to do is I go into what I call the I don't want any trouble stance. This looks to witnesses, it sets an instant mental image of you are not the aggressor from a legal standpoint. Man, I don't want any trouble. And I got my hands up. Everybody immediately takes that signal. You are not the aggressor. You're the party that's being attacked. So that helps you legally later. Also, it sets an image in his mind that his aggressive posture has worked. When you say, man, I don't want any trouble, but we're falling back into a fighting stance that he doesn't see, and our hands are up, our hands are of no use to us down here. Our hands are of much more use to us here. Because from here, it's a short thing to close them into fists, it's a short thing to bring them up into blocking, and it's a short thing to grab. It's a short thing to strike from here. And one of the things I want to talk about in this video is ending a fight before it starts. So from my I don't want any trouble stance, when this guy comes forward, I'm going to immediately drive as hard as I can. When he gets close enough, I'm going to explode, boom, just quick, up into his chin, and I'm going to try to force him backwards, and I mean right off of his feet. From there, I can either turn and run, or I can continue the attack. But if you've done this right and it's quick and you scoop his chin and you bury his head backwards, taking him off balance, he's on the ground. Chances are, if you've done this right, he may even be unconscious. Another, from the I don't want any trouble stance, when he comes in on you, is to drive a strike straight down into the collarbone, right here. Hit the collarbone as hard as you can. Drive that hammer fist down, and from there we can strike again, but you're most likely going to break that collarbone, and that's what we want. We want to break that collarbone. So from here, we strike hard as we can. Bang, fast. And as soon as you hit, you can draw back, get another one going if you need to, okay? But you're looking for the best possible first strike, the best one that you can make. From our position of, buddy, I don't want any trouble, we can widen our arms. We can go from here to here and look even more submissive. However, if we take his attention with some finger movement from this hand, we want to clench this one into a fist very quickly, but before we do that, we want to do something to attract his attention to this hand, some kind of movement. And as soon as we do that and his eyes move, we shift and we bury a hook like this. Most of the time people think about driving straight into the face and things like that. Your brain sloshes around in fluid and it's suspended in there, and the way you get knocked out is not necessarily by how hard you get hit. Don't get me wrong, a good hard hit is always preferable, but this hook, you're going to jiggle and snap his head very quickly over to the side. And that is how a person gets knocked out, is when their brain in their skull gets moved back and forth very quickly. So this hook has much more likelihood of knocking him out. Or if we drive back like this, we are putting his brain backwards towards his skull, but the biggest thing is we're putting pressure on his spinal column and we're taking him off balance. One of the other fight-ending first strikes that, if you can do it and get it done, is to come from our I don't want any trouble stance, and either with your hand like this or with a fist like this. You want to be able to drive up into, pick it up, into the windpipe, into the trachea, hard and fast, and bury your hand like this in a loop into his throat, hard. And I mean drive him backwards with it. Make it as hard as you can strike. If you don't feel comfortable with that, that's fine. Make a fist and drive it up into the throat. If you break the trachea, his breathing function is going to be impeded. He's going to be bleeding in his own throat. He's also going to be in an incredible amount of pain, and I promise you, with that strike, he's going to need emergency medical attention, or he's in rough shape. And the last thought on his mind is continuing that fight. It's one of the last thoughts on his mind. But those are 3 fight enders that are near immediate and should stop and break a violent attack before it gets started. But we're going to do one more, or a couple more here, just because I feel like it. You there?
Yeah.
With just a pivot, we've locked his hand. Again. And it works to either side. Anyway, this is useful to break a choke, because some people just bulldog right up on you, grab you in a choke, and that's the best way to do it. Go ahead, one more time. You pick your shoulders up and then turn. And the faster you turn, the better it's going to work, okay? Nobody's going to be shocked by you bringing your shoulders up. Hell, most people get grabbed, they bring their shoulders up instinctively. So when he grabs you, bring the shoulders up, grab his fingers right there, and then very quickly, do it quick and turn. And you'll break the choke, and you'll even have a small lock on him for control. Now we're going to do this slow. You don't have to choke me real hard or anything. Go ahead. So I break the choke, and as I'm turning, we've got this temporary lock. I would want to come up and seize this hand, and I would want to start to lock him up. Now I've got him in a submission position. I can take him anywhere that I want to go, and I'm shielded from his other hand. I can throw him on the ground. We can do whatever we have to, okay? I can walk him backwards and take him off his feet. But we locked him up, so don't give up that advantage. Grab a hold of it, lock it up, and do something with it. I like to hear bones crack. I like to hear things break. So when I get a hold of digits and stuff like that, I like to turn somebody into a one-armed guy, or at least somebody called Stumpy, and I like to just tear those fingers apart. So that's another fight ender. If a guy comes up, snatches a hold of you, break his choke, get a hold of his hand, and start breaking digits off. Tear them off and throw them down the street. Take him home with you, wear him as a necklace, I don't care. But don't worry about his safety. Get rid of him, break his attack, get him off of you, and if you can, stop the attack before it ever happens. I don't want any trouble, and then we drive up and in. I don't want any trouble. From here, we hook him to drive his head over. I don't want any trouble. Up into the throat, or up into the throat. I don't want any trouble. Whack, and break the collarbone. If we break the collarbone, we can come in with a hook. We can keep right on working. But bang, I don't want any trouble. Break, we can come up and drive into the throat with the second hand. So we've got 2 fight enders, 1, 2, just like that. But break the attack before it ever starts. As soon as he's up on you and he's confrontational, he's violent, he's ready to go, I don't want any trouble. And then give him more trouble than he counted on. Okay, How many times have you seen, either on TV, YouTube videos, or in person, or when you were in high school, or even as an adult, two guys getting into an argument and one guy coming over putting fingers in people's faces? It's the first indicator of violence or guys trying to establish dominance. And I've seen it so many times it isn't even funny. And most of the time when it happens, that's the very first thing that I do. And it's not because I want to start trouble, it's because I don't want trouble. I want to take control of this because I don't want it to get away from me. I don't want him to end up waving that finger around and hitting me in the face. I don't want this to devolve into a full-on fight, and I want to take control of it. But ask yourself, how many times have you seen a guy stick his finger in another dude's face? And even poke them and stuff with that finger. That finger has been used to go, hey, look, more times, and grabbing it is an effective weapon. When we have this, we should go backwards with it, but we should also pull him because we can take him wherever we need to. We can get a hold like this and break it, but I don't want to do that. I want to have this finger so that I can lead him and I can snap it off. And I got to be honest, I've broken a lot of fingers in my life doing this very thing, and none of them my own. They always belong to the other guy. And the reason is because you can control him, you can control the circumstance. But ask yourself that. How many times have things started from finger pointing? So in my world, as soon as a guy points a finger in my face, I snatch it. If he's very unlucky, I break it and just tear it up terribly. But I drag him around by that finger and I take control of it because I'm just not going to let it get out of hand. Again, I'm Mike with the School of Self-Reliance. If you like what we do, like us on Facebook, watch our videos, like our videos, and share our videos. Thanks for watching.